Could you hear that out in the hallway? Yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
I call the meeting to order. Thank you everyone for coming. If you please rise and join me in the
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Lori, could you do a roll call for us?
Renee? Here. Noah? Here. Lee? Here. Barry?
Here.
Gerald?
Here.
Lori? Here. Jeffrey?
Here. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. And last month, we did allow bidding on a piece of property. When I was making the agendas, I didn't have a bid on it. I forgot that we had it at Browns Field over on Beatty Road. We do have a bid for it, so I would like to add it as right next to the other land sale. We have a land sale request, so if we add it as item 19A, we would be fine with that. Otherwise, if we have an approval for the agenda as such.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a second. Second from Carrie. Let's do a roll call vote, just because we had to change.
Okay. Noah?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Lee?
Yes.
Gerald?
Yes.
Lori? Yes. Jeffrey?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have approval of the past meeting minutes.
There is one change. Under the fire department report, it says March and it should be May. Otherwise, yeah, I think everything else is correct. Yeah, I didn't make that change.
All right, so considering that change, with that change, do we have a motion to approve the past meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve June 14th, 2021 board meeting minutes presented placed.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's roll call vote.
Gary?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Noah?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Gerald? Lori? Yes. Jeffrey?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the treasurer's report. And on this, there was the discussion of relatively small discrepancies between the general fund and the treasurer's report that came up. I had inquired about our process for this anyways. I read an article from Michigan State University that said the idea of motioning and passing treasurer's reports, even audit, talked to the lawyer about, is not necessary, and the MTA actually doesn't recommend doing a vote on the treasurer's report. They recommend putting it on file. So it'd be still fairly normal to do if anyone had any discussion over it. Otherwise, we can just have it on file.
There are a couple changes though. In the Michigan class interest, we are not getting that much interest. It should only be $2.45. And then the Michigan class for the water should only be $2.50. And then the total for all the CDs is actually $319,030.43.
So overall, those are relatively small differences, and a large number when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a couple $1,000 difference between the general ledger and the treasurer. And then, and the interest, it's around $20 for each of those two things. But nevertheless, do you want to continue to work on that? Anything else? Otherwise, we'll give this at a place on time. Next, we have the paying of the bills. And do we have a motion to pay the bills?
I move to approve pay June 9th to July 6th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
No seconds, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Harry.
Yes.
Nola.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Gerald.
Yes.
Lori, yes. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have our quarterly budget adjustments plus the quarterly report. And you can see that, well, the biggest thing here is the vote counter that Lori is getting is the biggest adjustment, which we talked about in the last meeting as the largest adjustment. Do we have a motion to make the budget adjustments?
I move to accept the budget adjustments as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any seconds, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Harry.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Nola.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Gerald.
Yes.
Lori, yes. Jeffrey.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have the fire department report. If you would, Chief Style.
Thanks, sir. 75 responses, 74 actually, last month. Quite a few mutual aids. Still underneath that 8-minute mark, which we consistently stay at. Multiple back-to-backs. Fires were without a hitch this year. There was a little bit of a longer clean at the end. And exactly 14 hours. Muskegon Central Dispatch will switch over to our 800 megahertz system. We've been diligently testing it all hours of the day and night. Ready to go live. Officially, the hard switch will happen at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll start some of the soft switching here throughout the night tonight, but it should work pretty well. We've had quite a few dead spots here in Dalton, specifically, especially towards Cedar Creek. We've been out there testing both pagers and the radios, and the system was built on a portable radio, not a mobile radio, which is kind of nice. So we know portables work at 3 watts to 35 watt. Mobiles will work just as well. I was informed today, due to the 547 radios they have to put in throughout the county, ours are slated to be put in the apparatus in it is what it is. Please get handled first because they're other than that, again, there is no cost to township whatsoever. This was through the 911 surcharge that went to everyone's cell phone a couple of years back. A very robust system. I actually was talking with the neighborhood fire chief who was testing the system. He actually was in Baldwin, and I was talking to him about my portable. We were clear today. I can't talk to him directly across the street. So we're pretty excited to see how it happens tomorrow. We did test inside of L3 today, which is a plant right there off Getty Street. And one of my employees happens to work there, so we were actually testing the system while he was deep in the building, and it's a fortified building because they built tanks there. So if you didn't know that, I didn't know they built that, but they built some older tanks. Anyways, they tested without a flaw at a high range, so we're pretty excited. They tested everywhere in the county. I just got the report. I won't bore you with it, but we have 2 spots in Dalton, well, actually in Cedar Creek, in the middle of Manistee. We have some low coverage, but comparatively, it's not going to be enough. So other than that, I did receive, and I forgot to bring it with, I did receive the second drawing for the heavy rescue. I will, we did it last time, we posted it over here so the citizens can see it. I just have to bring it over here. I will bring it over, post it so you guys can see what it looks like. We're still moving forward, and we're still trying to come up with a rough date of when the anticipated build will start. Dave, you're probably after. Other than that, I have nothing else. Anybody has anything for me?
Excellent, thank you. Next, we have the planning commission report, if you would, Lee.
All right, the June 29th meeting, very short. Let's see, there was a table, we had a table of special land use for a solar array. There was needing more information. There was a public hearing to amend the section 9.5E. That was to remove an item for containing vague and subjective language. There was no public comment, yeah, nobody. Then there's just new business. There's just, we officially agreed to make public comment 3 minutes, just to be consistent with the board and everybody else. And then last we just had a note of a correction of verbiage in the sign ordinance. Pretty short.
Excellent, thank you much, Lee. Next, we have our first public comment section. If people would give their name, their address, so that Lori can record it for the minutes, please limit it to 3 minutes. But if anyone would like to come up, please walk up to the lectern up here, and that microphone is on.
I'm not gonna walk up there, but Bill Earhart, 2590 Johnston.
If you could walk up there, we have
Everybody can hear me, I'm pretty sure they can hear me from
It has to
here.
be recorded.
So we have a bit of a discrepancy between when we're getting fairly large meetings, which is great, like a lot of people are showing up, but then it devolves into a discussion, which at first I tried to have a lot of working sessions because I like them and I don't mind the discussion aspects much at all. I like having it. But especially when we're doing a bunch of business items, to devolve into that open discussion makes a little bit of a mess of the meeting. And so if you could, I would appreciate it.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm talking about the road maintenance on Johnston. Now, if this isn't the time to ask this question within this 3 minutes, I will tail it to a different area of this meeting. But if you want me to continue on the repair of Johnston at this time, I will walk up there. You tell me what you want.
This time will work.
This time will work.
Completely fine. Yep,
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, again, Bill Earhart, 2590 Johnston. I live at the worst end of this whole road that you guys aren't taking care of. We all received our assessments for the fall for $175 per person for the winter taxes. We have not seen anything done as of yet this year. When is this going to start? I understand the money's for next year. That's what I was told by Lori when I called her. What is getting done this year? It's horrible. I've got contractors back in the back. I got UPS drivers that don't even want to come down this section. What is going to be done? It's July. We haven't seen anybody. They turn around at the boat launch and leave out foul. What is going to be done? It was on hold 2 months ago. We'll table it. Okay, it was tabled. 2 months later. What is going to be done? It's ridiculous. Every one of you guys, pretty much, Carrie, Renee, you all live on nice Mike Tucker paved roads. Really nice. You live on a crap road next to Tim. I know you do.
Yep.
What gets done? Nothing. So, what are you doing? What is Dalton Township doing for us for our tax dollars?
I can address this now.
Go ahead, address it.
So basically what happened is that private roads, these special assessments were set up 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years, so they expired. The deputy clerk had arranged the paperwork for Johnston and Brock and Cat to be done, and then they weren't done last year. So when I came in, that hadn't occurred, and they didn't end up on the winter taxes. And then we were using the money to try to branch it over into this year, but you have to go through the resolution process, a 4-step resolution process for special assessment. I tried to move that along quickly because it had been missed in the fall and winter. And then we ended up getting complaints on it that stalled it out a bit, obviously, what you're talking about with it being tabled and that type of thing. Now, Johnston did pass last month and went through, so we have all 4 resolutions through. But because they weren't done this last winter, we end up in a weird place with not having money in the account. Because they,
And why was that? Because it was election year, and none of you guys knew who was gonna be where. But our tax dollars was still putting forward to get the road taken care of. And you guys all dropped the ball because it was election year.
it should be,
Exactly. Don't try to sugarcoat this. That's exactly what happened.
was I in office?
You weren't. I'm just saying, everything was up in there. I'm not blaming you. It was the election year. Everything was up. But
I
I'm
agree.
just still, you take it out of our
It
taxes.
should have been taken care of.
Exactly.
And
That's what I'm saying.
we're trying
It
to do.
should have been.
Right. It should have been, that's what we're trying to do.
But I get this out of the last 2 meetings, out of all of you. It should have been, should have been, should have been.
Right.
What's happening? There ain't been a dang thing done on Johnston. They
Right.
just
It
turned
comes
around
down
two, 3 days ago. A county truck turned around and left.
Right, and that's the county.
That's the county,
The county is
exactly.
dropping the ball, and that's what we're trying to figure out. how
No,
to
I
get with
think
them on
you
this.
guys dropped the ball going to the county. Because us on Johnson had to call the county every time we needed the road fixed. We called. You guys did. Ain't none of you gonna drive your nice vehicles down our roads. None of it.
Last month, I did go through there to check.
You didn't come down our road. If you did, I'm gonna really be surprised, Gary. I really am.
No, I did. Because when people were complaining about it, I wanted to drive down there, and I even called and left a message. He never called me back.
What happened? Nothing.
Nothing.
We
He
haven't
never
had
called me
nothing.
back. Exactly. I called
Okay.
county, and he never called me back.
Okay,
That's
my
exactly what he
3
said.
minutes are up. I'm sorry, but I'm frustrated. We all are in Johnston. It's horrible.
Oh, we're mad, I'm
That's
mad about it
horrible.
too. Like I said, when I drove down, I saw the issues, I called. So, I mean, I'm frustrated too. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? Is come down to the county? And that's where we need to start going to the county, I think, as a major force, and not just individuals.
No, that's what we pay you guys to. You're in office for us. That's what your guys' job is, not us to go to the county. It's you guys.
But when we do,
get it done.
if we have people with us, I think that would speak louder than words and us just knocking on doors, hey, I would like you to go down Johnson Road. When we have people like we have right here in front of us, knocking on this individual's door, they might take that more into consideration than just myself or Nola or Jeffrey. We need the people. This is why we want these meetings.
I've been here 7 years and it hasn't changed yet.
And I'm not making excuses.
Don't
This
make
is-
excuses.
Wait.
Don't.
This is our first year in office, we're not even 8 months into this, and we were handed these problems. Okay, so, yeah, we did choose, because we didn't like what was going on before.
And neither did
So
the
we're
voters in this
trying.
township.
And that's why
We're
we're trying to make
and
these
so
changes.
you're coming in and you're making it very aware, and it's like, man, we gotta get on
And
this.
that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
We
That's
want
what
to
we want.
be, we want to have your voice.
So, right, we appreciate it. I mean, we're not gonna solve it in this discussion. We all agree it's a
I know,
problem.
and I understand it. I understand it. I'm just the frustration that's going on for years on Johnson. That's all I'm, and I thank you for your time. I really do.
Thank you for your time.
May I make a comment? It's not about Brock, but Noel and I went down Cat Road and Brock today, excuse me, Johnston.
Yes.
And we rode through there, and it's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad as Johnston,
Okay.
but it's still pretty rough.
Yeah, and even like coming out Cat Road on, was that Dawson right there?
Yes.
Like if somebody was driving that at nighttime and they want to go to the right, there goes their front end, literally. And I'd be really mad about that.
We have a
Like,
section in this meeting for Brock and Cat.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but those roads will continue to do probably, that's for sure. Any other public comments?
Lisa Gumpkin at 6550 Cat. I know, Jeff, I spoke to you, Carrie, and Renee, I spoke to you today, so yes, that needs to be addressed. There's several of us here that live on those roads and need to address those. We didn't realize it was coming up. Didn't realize also with the notification that you sent out that if you didn't attend, it was not going to be taxed, that it was not going to move forward. It was basically, to our understanding, that it was going to get raised, we were going to be specially assessed, it was going to go through, and we were going to be done. Well, yes, there were people here that did complain at the last meeting, and it's because we were unaware until I spent 3 hours one night speaking with all of my neighbors on Cat and Brock, that part of Cat was not being done. Well, if they're paying for it, I'm pretty pissed.
Yeah.
If it wasn't getting done. So we're speaking as one voice tonight, that those roads get done, we pass this, move it along, and we will continue to speak as one voice, and if we have to go to the county, go to the county. I mean, I'd be happy to
Yeah, I
attend.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Shreya Flitter, 4861 Anderson Road. I'm here to address the board for the harassment. My commuter use on June 16th was for the FOC for my custody hearing. The computer and all important applications were on rolling passwords, and I don't know, nor do I have any access to them. The computer is connected to and monitored by Central Dispatch 24/7, so all of my activity for 1 hour is documented. I only had access to Zoom, logged in under my name, and it has been recorded by the courts, the judge, and 2 lawyers. As for my loitering, on my part, I sell eggs to 2 employees here. I have to switch vehicles with my husband, Gerald, because we were down to 1 vehicle. I only come during his lunch break, same as many spouses to staff members here. As far as complaining about my presence in the hall, I don't interrupt his work while he's here, and I leave when I'm done with anything I have to do here. Loitering is being present without a purpose. On March 29th of this year, Lori Hayes allowed her son and his girlfriend to utilize her computer to do the exact same thing Gerald allowed me to do in her office, with closed doors, while she was in here working on ballot boxes. Jason Hayes has a felony warrant out for his arrest as we speak. I have confirmation from her ex-son or daughter-in-law, who I stay in contact with because Lori is my cousin. And I have helped her leave her son for abuse. If it's security you're worried about, Gerald never brings any of his work home, and the rest, besides about our rest of our board members. If it's professionalism you're worried about, Gerald works Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Jeff arrives most mornings, 8:30, 11 o'clock, and leaves most afternoons for naps. Yes, naps. Jeff has called citizens stupid on social media. If that's not hostile, I don't know what is. Jeff is known for cutting citizens off while they're during their 2 minutes, and you probably cut me off too. Lori is known for her migraine Mondays after camping weekends, and takes off early most Fridays. And if she has a doctor's appointment, it's a whole day off. The nights like to talk about transparency, and let's talk about that. How about the name changes? And how I can't find nothing on you guys, because you got so many name changes. How about your house in the wrong name? How about your illegal capital activity? I'm a voter, and I'd like to know about that. And how's the work environment? Let's talk about that. 2 of you work full-time, or on my husband. The rest of you, it's once a month. How about ask about office staff? We work with him every single day, the maintenance staff, the fire department staff. And how about we ask about the people in the community that work with him on a regular basis, how he loans his vehicle, his tractor, and most of his time. The many hours he's worked on weekends helping the community. But you don't see that because he doesn't go to social media for pats on the back. He's not for the grand gestures. Just look at his office. I want you guys to look in his office. His military awards are sitting in his stack because he hasn't taken the time to put them up on the wall.
3 minutes.
The only hostiles I see here are the board attacking citizen board members who don't agree with them. It's bullying, if you ask me. I was there when all of you sat at Lee's table that day and talked about the standards you wanted for this board. Gerald and Lee have held up those standards. I don't see a single reason to do that. And when Gerald gets angry and he calls you out on it, you get upset and attack us. What a joke. To the board members who felt that they needed to attack us instead of being adults and talk to us, I'd like the one thing left to say to you. Before you point the speck out in your neighbor's eye, I want you told to point that in yours.
Moving on.
Nice.
Thank you.
Next, are we supposed to be talking about non-agenda things right now? Because I mean, okay.
Supposed to be.
Is there any other public comment? Not seeing anyone?
Okay,
All right.
it had to be my turn, you guys. Amy Buckland, 4950 Henderson Road. And the reason why I feel the need to speak in this situation bearing this subject is because part of the reason for Gerald's language at the board meeting that was addressed, not like professionals would, but like middle schoolers would, on Facebook was because of me. I was his friend that he wanted to be part of this community, which I'm really thankful that that didn't happen, because the way that you guys have treated him on social media over the course of this most recent time can be described no other way other than middle school behavior. I read the 66 comments that went down every possible personal attack that you could on these two wonderful people. And I didn't find one single thing in that entire post about his job performance. Not one thing. So, in the 3 years that we have lived in this community, Rhea and Gerald have treated us like family since the day that we were here. And they would, if they had a problem with us as neighbors, they would come to us. They wouldn't go on Facebook and put it on Facebook. And if what Rhea said was true, that your violent felon son was using your computer to do the exact same thing that she did with the friend of the court, that is something that needs to be addressed. There is a huge difference between attacking a little girl with funny hair that has seizures on social media than there is to allow a violent felon in your office alone. And correct me if I'm wrong, the clerk would have a lot more personal information about our community in her office than the treasurer would.
First off, let me straighten this out. My son is not a felon.
Oh, so
No,
he
he
just
is
hasn't
not-
been arrested
He
on
is
his
not a
warrants
felon.
yet.
He has not been arrested. There is no felony warrant. He is not a felon.
Does it really matter?
And the second
I
thing
would
is,
say
no,
that's a
listen,
huge difference
you are,
between
you
a
are
Her
violent
son and
What
her are
violence?
two different people.
So,
Oh,
beating,
fine.
this is a little bit of the
Right.
chaos that I'm talking about.
Point of order.
We're on
Point of
the
order.
agenda.
We have to have some version of order, right?
Well, where was the version of order on Facebook? Where were you?
That's
Am
Facebook.
I wrong that you and Gerald ran together? Had you not met this man? Did you not know that the F-bomb was part of his language?
Not when you're
Before you
professional.
ran together. I was here for 4 interviews in order to be elected or to be chosen for the position that I was to be chosen for. And I heard the F-bomb more times during that period of time in a professional environment than I have ever heard in my place of employment. You weren't here, and neither were you.
Yeah, appreciate the comment.
I would like to comment, number one, this is a public meeting, and for people to use profanity, I don't care what, you're not supposed to do that. It's an ethical thing, period.
I agree with you.
Me as a board member, you're including the whole board member, I'm not hardly on Facebook. So you can't include the whole board members on slandering these people, because that's not what's happening.
That's a very good word to use.
Well,
That's a very good word to
if that's
use.
what's happening, that's what's happening. But the reality is if somebody is in this office, I don't come in here to use township things. I'm in here for this meeting, and I'm done. That's
Do you take your
it.
township work home with you?
I take this stuff home with me, the agenda that everybody has access
There
to.
is nothing
Public
on
information.
your personal computers
No.
that your teenagers, your family members, your neighbors.
Not one thing, not one
You
thing.
don't have to ask for
I thought
it.
this might evolve into a bit of chaos, and that is obviously true. But if we could, I appreciate the comment. But if we
But
could
at
move
first,
on.
it's not fair for anyone in this office, as far as I can see, to say an F-bomb creates a hostile work environment when he was ganged up on Facebook. That creates a hostile work environment. Somebody
Just using that word is associated
Yeah,
with rape.
I appreciate the comment.
Time's up.
Eventually, we'll probably make it.
Agenda item only, please.
About this? Okay. I'm Debbie Schmidt, and I live at 869 Michelin Road. So, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to speak on this or not, but as far as bashing everybody, as far as unprofessionalism, cursing in meetings, 24 years retired military, I've heard it all, seen it all, not offended by it. This isn't the place for it. So if you want to drop the F-bomb when you get home.
Yep.
My interaction, I live on Michelinda, like I said, crap road, whatever. My husband has spent years trying to get Michelinda a better road to live on. In doing this, just recently, this summer, somebody posted a sign that said, "Fix our road, Dalton." So I took a picture of it and I said, "Yay, we're getting our road fixed." And I put it on Facebook. And it blew up. I was like, oh my God, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Through this whole post, the lady that was up here with the service dog was posting how she was gonna meet some gentleman from our township and kick his butt. So that was her professionalism on how to fix our roads. That it was, she was taunting him. I was like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. So that is no place for any of it. I don't know if this is where it gets addressed, but a lot of us live on nasty roads, but there's a way to handle it. There's a way to handle it. Bashing everybody up here is not the way to handle it. You guys were voted in. If you don't like it, if we don't like it, there's a way to handle it. There's steps that we take, and I feel like that's what we should do. So, thank you. You're welcome.
Any other public comment?
On the agenda stuff?
It's not, I can go out.
All right. Well, we will move on to the decision items. So the first item up is a closed session about a memo from the lawyer concerning professional ethics. So the closed session would be that, first of all, we need a supermajority vote from the board to move into one. And then we would have the people leave the room, we'd close the doors, discuss the professional ethics. That can only be a discussion, motions can be made, nothing can be passed there. That has to be done in the open meeting. So, obviously, the usual thing to do, but thoughts from the board. What the question?
I'll second it.
Yep, all right, we have the motion by Carrie, second by Renee. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Carrie.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes, ma'am.
Nola. Lee. Gerald.
No.
Lori, yes. Jeffrey.
No. All right, so we will move into a closed session. Appreciate the public leaving, and I will flip off the microphone.
Take your water.
Take your water.
Take your water.
I don't
Vance,
care.
wake up. Wake up,
Come on,
Vance.
Vance, wake up.
Haven't heard from me. Quiet, awful quiet.
You don't even know where to start. It's like, oh my Lord.
This one's anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk out.
Go on.